Hey, what is going on, everybody? Boilon here, back for another video on Marvel Strike Force. In today's video, I want to do a little bit of, I think this is going to be like a monthly video. I want to talk a little bit about where we are in Marvel Strike Force in terms of the player base, in terms of maybe how much money Scopely is making from Marvel Strike Force. And, I've been tracking leaderboards every couple of weeks now. I have specifically the ones from 4 weeks ago and the one that just ended with Twilight Visual and a little bit of Operation Omega. And I just cleared Dark Dimension 7 City on my alt account, and I was really surprised actually how few people are actually through that. I really thought the number would be higher at this point in time. So I want to talk about all of this, active player base, what's going on in the game. Are we seeing a decline in MSF? Are, the decisions that Scopely has been making lately, is that actually pissing people off enough to leave? So I'm just curious, and I'd love to know your feedback by the end of the video as well. So if you're ready to go, let's boil this down. So I want to start here. Like, I just ended up making more progress on my alt account DD7. I never thought I would. Like, I have like 14 or 15 now G19 characters on my alt account. It's absolutely crazy. I know a lot of people haven't really seen me kind of touch on my alt account that much because it's kind of merged with my main account. And so I guess my current goal is like whether or not I'm going to get Mephisto or I'm going to get Odin first. And that's kind of what I'm wondering with my alt account. But I just cleared City, so I'm waiting. Actually, I'm currently going through global, so I might actually track it as I clear each section just to see, how many people have done that. But we're at 33,905. Well, that's where I'm at, anyways, for clearing Dark Dimension City, which is honestly, I think it's fairly easy to do. Spider Society rolled over this. I one shot this entire section, and it wasn't that hard. Actually, the hardest node was node number 3, which is the unrestricted with the 2 Nightcrawlers that spam their ult. I actually had to wait until I could G19 Super Scroll to get that cleared. But anyways, we're here to talk about the number because Mephisto has been out for a long time, and DD7's been out for a long time, and I know that more and more people are doing it now. They're really loosening up on the red gear, but I'm surprised this number is not higher. Maybe that's just me. Mephisto's been out since March 20th, 2024, which is this year, which is when the gates to DD4 has opened. So we're I don't know how many months is that? 7 months, I think. We're almost 7 months on from the opening of Mephisto because this is month 3. We're in month 10, right? And so I find that this number to be a bit low, and so it makes me wonder how many players are active. And what I mean by active is I mean daily engaged players who are keeping up with everything. I wonder if that actually is a lower number than what we actually think it to be. And maybe we've been seeing a decline, maybe a loss of players in this active division. We know that they've been pushing really hard as well to kind of recruit new players, especially from, I don't know, I think probably from the boosted account. Like when I started my alt account, really, which is like the good time of the boosted account period. So that they're pushing really heavy for new player changes from, I want to say probably from March, honestly, from like February, March, which I think is when I started my account, was maybe in February, because my account's like 7.5 months old now at this point. Things were good then. Things were very good. I was having a lot of fun, and I think everyone in my alt alliance agreed that that was probably the best time that Marvel Strike Force had ever had. And then cue up how things changed, especially on the lead up to, I guess it was about May. That's when things really shifted with Old Man Logan. That's kind of the marker, right, where a lot of us use for when things kind of started to slide downhill. And then we had Captain Britain in the summer. And then after that, we eventually led into Annihilers. And I'm wondering how all of this had an effect on the player-based numbers or just the sentiment, maybe people at the top or, the people who were active quitting. And now maybe the game's relying a little bit more on the new player base to spend money. And so I'm just curious about the dynamic of that one. Now, this was operation. We should have probably started with Sentinels Assemble. So Sentinels Assemble, this was 4 weeks ago now. This was, I don't even know if this was actually the Sentinel unlock event. And the reason why I say that is because now they don't really line up with the with what it sounds like. Like we have the Man Thing Swamp Showdown, it's definitely not Man Thing. So I can't really remember from 4 weeks ago if that was it still might have been, to be honest, because I got the Sentinel event down here, and that was on the 16th of September milestone event. This very well might have been the same event actually. So maybe. Anyways, my point is that back then it was about 322,000. I literally did this like just before the event closed down, and I did the lowest amount possible to rank on the leaderboard. This is my alt account that I have, my third extra account. And the reason why this is interesting is because things used to be around the 350,000 mark. Now, unfortunately, I do not have a screenshot for that, so it's not an exact science, but I do know from checking it before, this was probably around, I would say, the spring period. This was like, I would say the highest, the 350 was like the highest number that the game had ever seen. And that was between, I would say, March and June, like the sort of the spring-ish time leading up into the summer, early summer. That was about 350K on the leaderboard. And since then, we've had a slow decline basically every month. But I think that things really got a lot worse in probably around August, September, honestly, when things started getting a little worse. Now, you might think that 350K to 322 isn't that bad. 28,000 players in, I don't know, 5 months, something like that, but I think it is. I think in a macro perspective, when you're talking about monetization, when you're talking about spending and things like that, I think the loss of about 10% of the player base is still quite a bit. And also in terms of money spent and how much money they're making and not. I think that they do notice that kind of thing. And then so for Operation Omega, this was not a pure leaderboard in the sense where I could have tracked it from the bottom up. This was that same account, however, and I did this was Kiln. Remember you guys killed the Kiln Tower and all that? What I did was I did the first 3 floors. On floor number 3, which is unrestricted, you did get some orb fragments, which unfortunately was like 1,000 orb fragments multiplied by 4 points, and that's why I got 4K. These people with 3K points, these are probably free claims and things like that, so there is probably a little bit lower than this, but this represents basically, and I did this right at the last minute because I kind of forgot. This is basically the bottom of the leaderboard for anyone who did any Kiln Tower, who did anything from like up to the level the 3rd floor. And that's very low engagement, in my opinion, for these events. So that was 225,000, which actually is really interesting, I think, because it shows the people who are even willing to just engage with an event at all, right? There was a difference of like 100,000 players for, in this case, for Operation Omega. 100,000 players who either couldn't do anything in the tower mode or just chose not to. Whatever the case is, maybe there's like 100,000 fluff accounts. And what I mean by fluff accounts is I mean those people who, I don't know, are fake, almost fake bot, not bot accounts, but like people who just download one time, who, you might have seen it on Twitch. Actually, there's a lot of these sort of streamers who get people to download the game, maybe play it to like level 10 or something like that, and then drop it, right? So these are not people who actually played the game as such. And so that's kind of an interesting figure there, I think, because it seems that there's a lot less people even engaging in just the regular event content. And then we have Twilight Vigil, which happened, which just ended yesterday or, whenever. And I did this, not at the end. I did this, I guess, is probably when I woke up or before I went to bed. And this was 313,000. So between Sentinels Assemble and Twilight Vigil, there was a loss of, I would say, about 9,000 players. Which, again, this is within 4 weeks' time. And it might not seem like a lot. And this also just had an energy component. It was very easy to do. You could very easily get engaged into this. So, I mean, 300, I don't know, I want to get the exact number a little bit. So 376 divided by, I know it's, it's plus or minus a little bit, 322. And so it's about approximately a lot. I'm going to round, well, let's just 2.75%, right? So almost 3% of the player base in about a month has dropped off, at least as far as the leaderboard goes. And I think this is a very fair comparison, because Sentinels Assemble and Twilight Vigil both had energy inputs, and so things that people easily could, could do things with. And so I'm going to check this again in about 4 weeks' time. I want to make this a regular video, at least once a month, to kind of track the progress, the ups and the downs of Marvel Strike Force. Now, Scopely's revenue. I did have other figures for this back in last year. I don't actively track this a lot. But I know that there is ups and downs in their revenue cycle. Now, this is Android. So this is the Android sensor tower data. This is updated usually at least once a month. The last update was about 2 weeks ago, and it was approximately 3 million. Now, this could be anywhere in the 3 million range. I do believe it's only like every 1 million, so it's not going to say 3.5. So if it's not 4, if it's not above 4, it's still going to say 3. I think that's how it is because I don't have the paid version of Sensor Tower. Downloads of 300,000, and then the iOS version is 3 million as well, with a third of the downloads. Now, I do want to say Scopely and Monopoly Go is just making hand over fist money. It is absolutely insane. 83 million last month, and this was updated about 11 days ago, so this will be for the month of September. 83 million, 3 million and 80, like it's baffling. They actually have a Marvel event going on right now, a Marvel collaboration. It's absolutely insane how much money this game makes. 83 million, 48 million combined. That is $131 million a month, US dollars. That's just absolutely insane. I don't know if you've ever played the game. Like I honest, sometimes I don't even know how they make it. It's the number one mobile game in the world. And yet, somehow, it feels like Boundless Studios and Marvel Strike Force is being impacted in some way. I don't know if Monopoly Go is just that successful that they're ripping off people, or they're pulling people maybe off the team, or they're just not really paying attention as much to Marvel Strike Force and their development these days because we know things like the delay to Battleworld. And so all of this has to lead up to how the monetization scheme for the game has really changed and how this has impacted the player base. Player base is, going up, player base is going down. In this case, I think it's honestly been a trend of going down. That's just my thoughts. That's my general thoughts from what I'm seeing in the events. How I've seen, going from 350,000 to what was it, 313. And actually, I would be curious. I know I don't have a screenshot for that, but please believe me that the leaderboards were up to around 350,000 earlier on in the spring. And so, for the purposes of this, I do want to just probably could do this in my head, but so this is about a 10.5% decrease from the spring to now. So that'd be more like 6 or 7 months, that kind of thing. And so those kind of figures are pretty interesting because that is a lot, and obviously why we're seeing more of the monetization. But I just feel like I don't know if their monetization strategy is in fact making them more money. It did temporarily for things like Captain Britain. That's a whole nother story. I'm not really talking about that because that would take me forever. But the things that they're doing right now with the slow drip, with the phase 1 orbs and all of the stuff, are people actually spending more money on this? I don't know, because I've been talking to people both in my community and on Discord and things like that, where people have said they pulled back from spending. And so people who were past buyers, they might still be past buyers, but I don't see anyone being upselled or upsold to the character, that kind of thing. And people are still just kind of doing the same thing they normally did. And in fact, in some cases, I heard that light spenders or medium spenders are actually even pulling back and spending less on the game right now. We have so many of these Wave 1 orbs, all the Oath Orb, the Blade Orb, Omega Sentinel, Nimrod, Sentinel. We just had Thanos Endgame leave recently. And it's just absolutely crazy, I think, like how many characters are out simultaneously and how this is having an impact in the game. Their monetization structure is absolutely wild right now in what they're asking the players to do. And I think this may have a negative, or is having a negative impact overall on the game. And then that leads into Battleworld, right? So, is Battleworld going to bring the players back? The players who maybe left and quit because they got frustrated with the game and with Scopely, are they going to come back for Battleworld, or are they gone for good? Is there going to be a new push for a new marketing strategy, a new advertisement strategy to bring players back for Battleworld? I don't know. That's something that you'd have to ask Scopely or an Envoy or something like that. But I have to say that since Battleworld is quote unquote delayed and was delayed previously before, I am concerned whether or not Battleworld will make a difference. Will it might get some players to stay on board, but is it going to bring new players back in? And how is it going to affect the total game? And that's what I'm curious about. And this is why I kind of want to track this on at least a monthly basis, track it with leaderboards, track it with trial events, that thing, so we can kind of get a better look at what's going on in the game and the overall kind of state of it, I suppose you could say. So that's going to be the end of my video, everyone. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. I'd especially like to know actually if you were a spender at any point and if you've pulled back in recent months because of what's been going on in Marvel Strike Force. Your honest opinions would honestly be great. So let me know in the comments down below, and that'll be the end of this video. And until next time, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you all later. Boilon signing out.